Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Saturday, March 6, 2021. Deutsche Welle report. U.S. Senate narrowly passes $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill. Democrats in the U.S. Senate managed to vote through a relief bill on Saturday that aims to release trillions of dollars to support workers and businesses hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. The bill was approved along party lines after the longest voting session in the institution's modern history. Just shy of 12 hours were needed to find a satisfactory compromise for centrist Democrats who opposed increasing unemployment benefits.
Deutsche Welle report. Thailand. Hundreds protest lèse-majesté law in Bangkok. Hundreds of protesters marched in the Thai capital of Bangkok on Saturday to draw attention to a draconian royal defamation law and the plight of their detained leaders. The protest was largely peaceful and was organized by a coalition of several protest groups. The groups are calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Prayuth Chan-o-cha and his government, the constitution to be made more democratic, and for the monarchy to be made more accountable.
BBC report. Myanmar coup. India asked to return police officers who crossed border. Indian officials said the officers and their families had crossed the border in recent days. In a letter, Myanmar authorities asked for their return in order to uphold friendly relations. Myanmar has been gripped by mass protests and strikes following a military coup last month. Security forces have taken a hard line against the demonstrations and at least 55 deaths have been reported. On Saturday, protesters continued to defy the military, gathering across the country.
CNN report. Canada vowed to protect its Indigenous women, but they are still being blamed for their own deaths. February marked the culmination of a nearly decade-long legal saga that raised national questions about how Canada treats Indigenous women. Cindy Gladue, a 36-year-old Canadian Cree Métis mother of three, bled to death in a hotel bathtub almost a decade ago. Bradley Barton, a former long-distance truck driver from Ontario, was on February 19 convicted for manslaughter, 6 years after he was acquitted of murder and manslaughter charges at his original trial.
CNN report. Trump State Department official charged for attacking police in Capitol riot. A former Trump State Department political appointee appeared in Washington, D.C. federal court Friday after being charged for pushing against police in the Capitol building during the January 6 insurrection. Federico Klein, who lives in the D.C. area and who goes by Freddie, is the first known Trump administration political appointee to be arrested for taking part in the siege. Federal authorities noted Klein, who was also a former Trump campaign aide, held a top-secret level security clearance at the time of the riot and resigned from the State Department at the end of the administration.
BBC report. Coronavirus. U.S. Senate passes major $1.9 trillion relief plan. The $1.9 trillion £1.4 trillion plan passed by 50 votes to 49 on Saturday, and will now head to the House of Representatives where it is expected to be endorsed. The relief plan has been championed by President Joe Biden as a way to help struggling citizens. But his Democratic Party compromised on some issues ahead of the vote. There were long discussions over federal unemployment benefit, which Democrats agreed to lower from $400 to $300 a week.
Fox report. World Uyghur Congress pressures International Olympic Committee to move 2022 Olympics out of Beijing. The World Uyghur Congress accused the International Olympic Committee (IOC) of ignoring an ethics complaint it filed last year to move the 2022 Winter Games out of Beijing due to China's alleged human rights abuses against Uyghur Muslims and other minorities. Former United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, who serves as chair of the IOC's Ethics Commission, is now being asked to either review and rule on the complaint or appoint someone who will.
BBC report. Jack Dorsey. Bids reach $2 million for Twitter co-founder's first post. Just setting up my TWTTR. The post, sent from Mr. Dorsey's account in March 2006, reads, "It will be sold as a non-fungible token (NFT), a unique digital certificate that states who owns a photo, video or other form of online media. But the post will remain publicly available on Twitter even after it has been auctioned off. The buyer will receive a certificate. digitally signed and verified by Mr. Dorsey, as well as the metadata of the original tweet.
Al Jazeera report. Descend on streets. Senegal opposition calls for mass protests. An opposition movement in Senegal has called for 3 days of protests starting on Monday after days of clashes between police and supporters of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko. At a news conference on Saturday in the capital, Dakar, the Movement for the Defense of Democracy, which includes the leading opposition party PASTEF, urged people to massively descend on the streets. At least 4 people have died in protests that began on Wednesday before Sonko's court appearance for questioning on accusations of rape.
CNN report. Vaccine selfies are everywhere. That's actually a good thing. When Brittany Hall from upstate New York received her first COVID-19 vaccine after barely leaving home since last March, she pulled out her phone and took a selfie to mark the occasion. "I cried so hard the lady that helped me had to comfort me," she said in a tweet along with the picture. "I can't wait to hug my dad and my nieces," as the main caretaker for her immunocompromised mother, who sewed and donated more than 2,000 masks in the early days of the pandemic. Hall said capturing the moment was a major step toward releasing some of the anxiety that upended her mental health in the past year.
Fox report. Pharma bro Martin Shkreli monopolized life-saving drug while incarcerated. Lawsuit. Former pharmaceutical CEO Martin Shkreli, also known as the Pharma bro, has continued to monopolize a life-saving drug from prison. A new class action lawsuit filed Thursday alleges Shkreli and his company, Viera Pharmaceuticals, have faced multiple lawsuits over allegations of suppressing competition within the pharmaceutical industry to protect Viera's high pricing of a drug called Daraprim, which is the only FDA-approved medication to treat a bacterial infection known as toxoplasmosis.
Fox report. NYC releases records of more than 83,000 NYPD officer complaints. New York City has released more than 83,000 police complaint records filed over the last 2 decades. The Civilian Complaint Review Board shared the data publicly on the Internet after a legal battle over the repeal of a police privacy law. It includes complaints alleging misuse of force, abuse of authority, discourtesy and offensive language against more than 34,000 active duty officers and 48,000 former officers dating back to Jan.
Al Jazeera report. Paraguay's president asks all ministers to resign after protests. Paraguayan President Mario Abdo Benitez has asked all cabinet ministers to resign following clashes between demonstrators and police at protests against the government's handling of the coronavirus crisis. The country's communications minister, Juan Manuel Brunetti, said on Saturday the president asked all the members of the cabinet to give up their positions. The president will surely speak today with the citizenry.
Al Jazeera report. Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama receives COVID vaccine. Tibet's spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, has encouraged people to get vaccinated as he receives the first shot of a jab against the coronavirus. In order to prevent some serious problems, this injection is very, very helpful, the 85-year-old said after being inoculated on Saturday at a hospital in the North Indian town of Dharamshala. More people should have the courage to take this injection, he added.
Fox report. Pope, top Iraq Shiite cleric hold historic, symbolic meeting. Plains of Iraq AP Pope Francis and Iraq's top Shiite cleric delivered a powerful message of peaceful coexistence Saturday, urging Muslims in the war-weary Arab nation to embrace Iraq's long-beleaguered Christian minority during a historic meeting in the holy city of Najaf. Grand Ayatollah Ali Al-Sistani said religious authorities have a role in protecting Iraq's Christians, and that Christians should live in peace and enjoy the same rights as other Iraqis.
CNN report. Car bomb explodes in Somalia's capital, killing at least 20 people. At least 20 people were killed and more than 30 others wounded in a car bomb blast in Somalia's capital Mogadishu on Friday night. Police and emergency services said, a car packed with explosives was detonated at the gates of Lul Yemeni restaurant near the port at around 8 p.m. Local time 12 p.m. ET. Captain Aidan Osman, a senior police officer in the capital, confirmed to CNN. The explosion was followed by heavy gunfire.
Deutsche Welle report. Pope Francis holds first ever papal mass in Baghdad. On the second day of his visit to Iraq, Pope Francis delivered a mass in the St. Joseph Chaldean Catholic Cathedral in central Baghdad. The mass was the first time that the 84-year-old pontiff had presided over a liturgy in the Eastern Rite. Attendance was limited due to coronavirus restrictions. He told the congregation that it was not the rich and powerful who were blessed, but rather those who show mercy to their brothers and sisters. The German Catholic news agency KNA reported.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.